The fruit principle. Life is full of millions of micro decisions. Most of the time, I operate on a version of autopilot, making every one of those choices the same way I did yesterday and the day before. There is an order to how I brush my teeth, put on my clothes, and drive to work. How many of you have started driving to work on your day off instead of your real Saturday destination? I've never gotten all the way there, but I've taken major detours because of my distraction. The other day, my daughter pounded on the bathroom door while I was in the shower. She shouted through the door, "Dad, can I have my sweet treat yet?" By the time we had discussed whether she had met the criteria for her daily sweet treat, I completely forgot which part of my body I had washed. I had to start over. Strangely, the same thing happened on a different day, but I was toweling off. Whenever my autopilot gets interrupted, it takes me a while to remember what I was doing. Then I have to start over to get back into the pattern. Oh, just in case you were wondering, the criteria for my little girls having their sweet treat is having eaten their first healthy meal, and it is 12 p.m. The rule is meant to avoid daily food debates. I would not call that area of our lives automatic yet, but I'm hopeful. Most things in my life have become so repetitive that my brain can do them without any new decision-making. I consider this largely a good thing, as it lets me maximize brain thought hours toward my favorite things: daydreaming, learning, thinking, and creating, rather than folding laundry. On the negative side, this is probably why my life seems to be flying by quicker as I grow older. Most of my life is on autopilot. My birthday is coming up. I had to pull out the calculator app on my phone and subtract my birth year from 2024 to figure out how old I was going to be. I am lost in my thoughts half the time, but that number seems too big. "The math don't lie," my phone replied. Macro decisions are a completely different animal. I use the fruit principle to help make these decisions easier. Have you ever agonized over a huge life moment? Should you buy the house? Should you marry that person? Should you move? Take a new job? Eat at Taco Bell again? These decisions consume huge amounts of brain power, usually for months at a time. For good reason, the consequences are pretty high, sometimes irreparable. The fruit principle can help. It comes from Matthew 7:16 through 20. In it, Jesus says, "You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits." ESV. According to Jesus, I can tell the character of a person by the fruit their life produces. Good fruit indicates a good, trustworthy person. Bad fruit should throw up all kinds of red flags. Never ignore the red flags. It will cost you in the end. For example, if I am considering a partnership with a person, a business, a friendship, or a marriage are good examples, I should examine their actions. How do they live? How do they treat other people? How do they treat themselves? These fruits indicate what kind of tree they are, and are valuable clues as to what you can expect from them in the future. This helps cut through the stress of difficult decisions, especially when the upside seems too dazzling. A good rule of thumb: never create a partnership with a diseased tree. Never, never, never. This principle saved me from going into business with an angry man who had many common interests with me, but whose bad fruit would have poisoned the well of our partnership. Without a doubt, the success of the venture would have been compromised. Getting to no was a long and difficult decision because the upside of the venture was glistening in front of my face, and that can be very distracting. I wanted the deal to happen. Thankfully, I saw the danger of this partnership before signing on the dotted line. I credit this to prayer and God helping me to see the red flags. I haven't always been so lucky. I've made many errors in judgment because I didn't look for the good fruit. I purchased a lot of thorn bushes. Using the fruit principle will help you to avoid a lot of heartache. That is why I pre-decide as many things in my life as possible based on my biblical ethics and beliefs. Perhaps you would say that all my thinking time is a luxury you can't afford. But I think everyone should make time for pre-decision. It's free, given a little scheduling and prioritization. It might not be natural for you, but it is valuable. Your future self will thank you for getting away from the grind to pre-decide your ethical paradigm. I spend a lot of time thinking about what I believe and why. In the process, I struggle with scenarios that test my beliefs, and the conclusions I come out with are firmer than they would be otherwise. Once tested, every principle might guide 100 different choices throughout life. It's a major time saver because this process helps me make hard decisions quickly. This allows plenty of margin for the surprises that life keeps giving and the rare dilemma that I haven't pre-decided. I consider it a heartbreak protection device too, but that's just me. Let's examine a situation where pre-decision could have helped in a stressful moment. I recently watched the first episode of the TV show called Beast Games, in which 1,000 contestants competed for $5 million. It looks like the drama of the show is eliminating people in creative and interesting ways. The first method the show used to whittle down the group was to offer a shared $1 million to all contestants who would self-eliminate by the time the clock ran out. It turned out that each person who did this won $20,000. Not a bad payout, because your chances of winning the final payout are so low. Ethically, this decision does not hurt anyone else, so it is an acceptable one you could make unless you just want to go for the big prize. Later, a different method was employed. Contestants could take a bribe of $100,000 to eliminate themselves from the game, but their actions would also remove their row from the game. A basic examination of ethics dictates the first choice is just fine, but the second is not, because you are hurting others for personal gain. Those who took the second choice exchanged $100,000 for a list of enemies and a destroyed reputation. For as long as they live, they will be known as the type of person who will backstab to get ahead. Who would trust them ever again? The answer is a fool, in case you are wondering. A good reputation is worth so much more than $100,000, and I mean both monetarily and intrinsically. This fruit principle is echoed in Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. In it, he said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." This is the way we should judge each other. The content of your character rule is the same as you will know them by their fruits. If humanity were to adopt this as our standard, our world would be perpetually improving because the only way to get ahead in life would be to demonstrate good fruit. Reputation would be the currency. Bad fruit would be disadvantaged and thereby disincentivized. Wouldn't that be nice? There is one further place I would like to extend the fruit principle to. Systems. Yes, a person's fruit illuminates the content of a person's character, but the same is true of systems. We can tell the integrity of a system by the kind of fruit it produces. Stafford Beer has a great quote that lends itself well to this conversation. Stafford Beer, inventor of the popular social lubricant, that's a joke, and the professor at Manchester Business School, that's not a joke, coined the phrase, "The purpose of a system is what it does." He said, "There is, after all, no point in claiming that the purpose of a system is to do what it constantly fails to do." If I had a business called B.T. Higgins Bicycle Works, but it produced jelly donuts, what is the purpose of my business? The claim on the billboard or the product that comes off the machines? The answer is plain. I have a donut factory because that's the fruit I produce. I use a ridiculous example to make my point. In real-life systems, it might seem harder to parse, but so many of them are just as outrageous. How about a government welfare program that gives money to low-income single mothers? The sign on the building says, "We are helping the most vulnerable." But the fruit that the factory has produced is a long pattern of generational poverty and a nation-destroying single-parent household epidemic. The need for the program has grown, and a permanent poverty class is the result. In a nation that incentivizes single parenting, the government becomes the father and will undermine our freedoms in the future. The purpose of the program is what it actually does. Its fruit is to disincentivize the one thing that consistently pulls people out of poverty: two committed parents working to give their kids a better financial life than they had. The government will gladly play the role of fathers and mothers, but it would prefer to become your God. I suggest we say no, no, and absolutely no. The fruit principle, as applied to systems, can help us make all political, civic, and policy decisions. Filling out the ballot becomes easy. Every election, the ballot is chock full of red flag policies and politicians who are diseased trees. We must stop creating partnerships with bad, incompetent, or ill-equipped people and systems. The sign on the door says, "Trust us, we care about you." But the product coming out the back doors is utter and complete garbage. The more we use the fruit principle to make big decisions, the more macro decisions become as automatic and simple as our daily micro decisions. The best way to floss my teeth for health and prosperity is 1, 2, 3. The best way to run a nation for health and prosperity is 1, 2, 3. You see, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3.